Hi, so welcome to Golf FM. This is potentially the final in the series of me looking for a set of irons for myself. I have been through most of the options that I have available to myself. I run a pro shop and I only do certain brands. So I do Wilson, Cobra, TaylorMade, Ping, Callaway, and have access to Titleist as well. So the remit for me is I've got Wilson D9 forged irons at the moment and I'm keen to change those. They've changed the model to the Dynapower and to be honest it doesn't look different enough for me, and I want something a little bit more player light. They're a little bit bigger than I really wanted in terms of the profile, the head size, the shape. It's a really nice iron, the D9 forged, performs great, feels really soft, goes miles, and I want something that has similar performance but possibly looks a little bit thinner and a little bit smaller. And I know that's a hard ask because to keep the performance up you might well need the size and the shape of club head to have all those attributes in it, but nonetheless I'm on the search. So the ones I've tried so far are the P790. I felt that was a little bit too close to the look and size of my D9 forged, although it is a really nice club as well. P770 I strengthened by 2 degrees and I got very close to the sort of distance, and I almost feel like I could go for that. They have a black model which was of interest to me because it looks so different and really nice. I was losing a little bit on the P770 even at 2 degrees stronger, but it is a bit of a smaller head. I wouldn't have had to hit more club though. I could have just about got by hitting the same club. I tried Titleist T200. I like it, just it's nice. I could use it. There's something about it doesn't excite me. I don't know why. I'll maybe try it again. I'm not sure about it. I also tried Blueprint S by Ping. I was really hoping that that would work, but even at 2 degrees stronger it still was losing distance to the D9 forged, and I would have definitely had to hit more club. Psychologically I don't want to hit more club. I don't want to hit a longer shafted club than I'm using at the moment. So I know that the lofts are deceptive in these clubs, in that a standard blade iron would be about 34 in a 7 iron, and these, a lot of them are 30 degrees. But the problem is, if I used a set of blades or something similar to that, I would have to use one more club. I'd have to use a 6 iron instead of a 7 iron. And there is a factor which I think is important, and that is that the shaft is longer in a 6 iron, and I won't hit the middle as often. So I'm very keen to not have to go up a club or down a club, however you want to look at it. So the other club I tried from Ping was the i530, and that so far is the main contender. That's been the one that I've liked the most. I like the look of it. The performance was almost better than the D9 forged. It was a tiny bit stronger. It's 1 degree stronger, and I was worried I wouldn't get descent angle, but it was passable. It wasn't too bad considering how far it was going, and I almost at times felt like I could have hit less club with the i530. So that really is the hot contender at the moment. And the final one that I've got to try today is the Cobra Forged Tec. So I haven't hit this really at all, and I wanted to put it up against the i530. So the Cobra Forged Tec is a really nice looking club. I think the looks of it are probably better than the D9 forged in my opinion. I think it looks sleeker, almost a bit more bladey again, less game improvement even than the D9 forged looks. And I want to just make mention of the price of the Cobra actually, because it's a big factor for a lot of people. This is $984 for 7 irons, and you're looking at $1330 for the Pings. So £346 of a difference, which is a massive difference. I mean, that's most of a good driver these days. I wish I could say that was a whole of a good driver. It's what it should be, but it isn't. Nevertheless, it's a big saving, so you need to factor that in when you're looking at these. I actually filmed this the day after I filmed the rest of it because I woke up in a cold sweat thinking I didn't mention the price. And the reason I didn't mention the price is because I was looking at these for myself, and so I know that it wouldn't matter really how much these were compared to the Pings, because if anyone's got any justification for spending a lot on clubs, it's me, because it's my job. That's a nice thing, to be honest, and so the price doesn't really come into it for me. And incidentally, the Wilson Dynapower Forged, the successor to my own club, is $885, so even cheaper. So the Pings are a lot more. And interestingly, in the detail on the website for it, it does talk about the whole head being a forged carbon steel, whereas a lot of the time it's just the face which is forged in these clubs. So it'll have a hollow body like this does have, but then the face itself is forged. So you get a forged feel, but they're able to construct the rest of the club in a slightly cheaper metal that enables them to keep it hollow. They can put foam inside, they can put tungsten weights inside, they can add to the feel and the acoustics with that, and also add lots of forgiveness by having effectively a perimeter weighted club, and you can't see the perimeter weighting. It just is made to look like a blade. You know, I get a lot of people in for fittings with this type of club and they almost don't believe me that they'll be able to hit it, but these things are seriously forgiving and they hit the ball miles. So only thing I would say about them, a lot of the time they don't have a lot of offset because they're designed to look like a slightly better player's club. So if you're habitually slicing the ball, then they might not be the best. There might be other clubs out there with a bit more offset and a bit more forgiveness for you in terms of stopping the ball going to the right. But these are extremely forgiving, and it's very hard once you've tried a set of these to actually go back to anything that's less strongly lofted, and you end up having to hit more club. It becomes depressing. You want to give up golf. You end up taking up other sports like windsurfing. You'd be better doing windsurfing in Scotland, to be honest, because it's so windy all the time that it messes with the golf, and you'd actually be pleased that it was windy if you were doing windsurfing. I don't know why I bother with golf half the time. But anyway, these are extremely forgiving, and I think they're a very, very nice looking example, the Cobra. So I was keen to give them a go. Now, I have mercifully done the figures on these already, and I think what I'll do is go through these with you now against the i530, and then I'm going to hit the i530 and the Forged Tec back to back to give you my opinion on the feel and the looks, address, and the general thoughts on hitting them back to back. Okay, so the figures. The Cobra Forged Tec was 122 miles per hour ball speed, 123 on the Ping, 16 degrees launch on the Forged Tec and 18 on the i530. Carry was 184 on the i530 and 182 on the Cobra. Spin was 5,380 on the Ping and 4,703. Descent angle on the Ping 47 and Cobra 41. Now these were 10 of the best of a batch, so I hit probably 20-25 shots and took the 10 best of each of these. I did that for the Ping and for the Forged Tec. Now the thing that stands out for me is how low the launch is on that Cobra, 16. I mean, that's just too low. I've not seen any of these other clubs that I've tested be that low a launching club. The spin is also really low, 4,703, and also the descent angle is pretty much unacceptable for me. So the only thing that is a bit different, I didn't have the option of the shaft that I normally use. Now I used in this Cobra the KBS S-Taper light shaft in stiff. Now when you look into the stats of that shaft, it isn't a particularly low hitting shaft. It's kind of a mid shaft. It's nothing too angry or extreme in any way. So it shouldn't really be that much different. So there might be something in the head there that is causing it to be a little bit lower spinning and a little bit lower launching. Now if you're a bit of a high spinning player, then this might be something that actually really suits you in the Cobra. If you're somebody that perhaps adds loft and has a lot of spin on the ball, then a lower spinning club actually can help you out. So in terms of the stats, it's not doing what I'd really want it to do. I couldn't really live with that level of spin, and I couldn't live with that descent angle. Now I might well be able to, with a bit of experimentation, find a shaft that gets that spin level up to 5,000 and gets the descent angle up to 45 and the launch angle up a bit, maybe to 18 as well. So the figures were quite similar in terms of the carry 182, and that shows that it's up there with the best of them, because the i530 is actually half a degree stronger. So for it to be keeping up pretty much with the others at half a degree weaker is good, but it's not quite done what I was hoping for in terms of the figures. So let's have a look at them back to back, hitting, and have another discussion about looks. So in terms of the looks, Cobra against the Ping, I think it's actually really quite close. I think the i530 looks absolutely brilliant. Now bear in mind that this demo iron doesn't have the cutout. There is a little cutout on the neck, as you get with all Ping irons, I think. possibly, apart from the Blueprint S, I don't know. Can't quite remember. Now, even with that, they've cleaned up the design of the i530. It's a lot more classic, it's a lot less cluttered than the i525 was, and I think it's a big improvement in terms of looks. It looks sleek and very blade-like. The Cobra does as well, but I just think there's something about the finish to the back of that i530 that to my eye looks slightly more attractive than the Cobra. The i530 looks slightly smaller from top to bottom. Yeah, it possibly is a little bit smaller. Not a lot in it lengthwise. In terms of the top line, which is an absolute key element, the Cobra is definitely a little bit thicker. I remarked in my last test on the i530 how I couldn't believe how thin they'd got the top line for something that is so powerful. And I still think it is a very good top line for, as I say, something which is so forgiving and so long hitting. Now the Cobra is pretty good. If I introduce my old timer, the D9 Forge, and put it up against the 3, yeah, the top line's very similar on the Cobra as to what it is on the D9 Forge. The one thing I do notice about this Cobra is that there's a tiny bit more offset than most of the others. Now, I generally don't like offset because I don't want to feel like the ball's going to go left. That's my bad shot. And offset makes me feel like there's more of a chance of that happening, even though in actual reality it doesn't do that much offset. But to my eye, doesn't look as appealing as the Ping, which just pretty much comes straight out from the bottom of the shaft, the leading edge. Immediately, I like the look of this at address more than I do the Cobra. So we're not off to a good start here. I've got stats which are not doing anything for me, and I've got looks which are not exactly doing a lot for me either. Certainly at address, from the back, there's not a lot in it. It's really nice looking from the back, actually, the Cobra. So I'll hit them and see what it feels like, and see if hitting them back to back just reminds me of what I thought of the Ping, and also how it feels against the Cobra. So I'll hit the Cobra first. Good strike. Felt so soft, really soft. 177 in the air. There's that 16-degree launch again, 4,500 spin and 42 descent angle. So again, just what I've been seeing, but that was a really nice strike. Felt really good. All these players' distance irons with forged faces actually do feel really nice. Oh, immediately I prefer the look of this. I think it's the offset. It's also, you've got less offset and you've got a thinner top line. So two things which I'm really looking for in a club. That was a good strike. It might be to the right. That was a good strike though. And there you go, 187 in the air, 18 degrees launch. Spin was 4.6, so it's still quite low, but it's better in terms of launch. And descent angle was 46, so 46. So that's kind of what I see, is that I get these sort of figures which would enable me to use this club in terms of stopping it, even though that's going a long, long way for me. The Cobra I would struggle to stop. I think it would run on and on the way it is. So just hit another one with the Cobra. Immediately just too much offset on that for me. It's not loads of offset, but it's just enough to upset me. Good strike again. Didn't register. Thanks for that, Skytrack. Appreciate that. Decent strike again. Feels really good off the face. A little bit out to the right, miles right. But it went 183. Launch was a little bit better, 17, but I probably had the face open, that's why it went right. 4,300 spin. Descent angle 43, so still a bit low, just a bit low, but feels really nice. So I think I'll leave it there. I don't want to just keep hitting shots for the sake of it. I have got a good understanding of what's going on with the Forged Tec against the i530. It wasn't really a contest for me in the end, mainly because of the way the i530 sits at address and also the stats I was getting. It was flying a bit higher for me, tiny bit more spin and actually a tiny bit more distance as well. And the feel, very, very similar. Both feel soft, both feel good. The Cobra did feel really, really nice. Looks really nice at the back, slightly too much offset for me, but that might be perfect for some people out there, I don't know. It's horses for courses with offset. If you put a club down, sometimes it just looks absolutely brilliant. Other times there's just something that's not agreeing with you. And I do think that's a factor. I know you can just go with stats in theory, but I do think you've got to like the look of a club and you've got to like how it looks at address especially, so that you can picture a shot and not worry about a certain shot happening because of the appearance of a club, even though it might not actually happen in reality. And this is another bit that I added in after the fact, after waking up in a cold sweat, worrying about not mentioning the price. Don't forget the price on the Cobra against the Ping. Massive saving, brilliant club, and if you can get a shaft which kicks it up a little bit more, you probably get the stats up, just as I probably would as well, and you'd have a club that performed just as well as the Ping, felt just as good as the Ping. And if you're a player that actually misses slightly to the right, if anything, then the very small amount of offset that this has might actually suit you down to the ground. So I might be finished this search. I'm not 100% sure. I might just weigh up P770 2 degrees strong against i530 as a final battle to see which I go for. Callaway unfortunately don't have anything I can really use because the Apex Pro is too weak lofted. It will just cause me to have to hit more club all the time, even though I really like the look of it. And funnily enough, apart from that, Callaway don't have anything in their range which competes with these, because they've got AI Smoke, which isn't a forged face and has a little bit more offset than I would like, even though it's minimal. And so I think I'm down to P770 strengthened or i530. So that'll be the final test, I think. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks again.